everybody, this is Pete from PA Labs, and I'm starting a new video series today. And this is structures to modules. And this is the next step in the game development that I kind of started on the scroll area gadget videos. So that kind of began the workings of a game engine. And we can't really continue that forward without first having an understanding of structures and modules. So that's what we're going to tackle here. And what I've started this video off with just a single code sheet in a folder. And we are going to go create a project from scratch and say new project. And this is a demo structure modules. How about that? Demo module. Okay, and we can go ahead and say structures to modules. All right, so we're going to hit this second tab here. And let's see, we need to go to our folder of demo. And let's see, demo modules. We can't double click. I always want to double click this to bring it over as selected, but that doesn't work. You have to hit the add button. And these buttons down here are what slices up all the code and gives us our type ahead and stuff. So that's one of the real benefits to using this. And so we'll go ahead and create our project. So now we have a created project. We can almost finish this. We're going to have to come over here to the compiler stuff and say, okay, what is our main source file that starts off our thread of execution? And so we'll come in and select our first file. Now, at that point, this is everything that's mandatory. If you want, you can also give him an output executable name, which I'm going to go do, and say demo module. And this will be .exe. So there you go. That's really the primary stuff that's needed. Go ahead and hit save. And if you notice, our code sheet that we selected is now part of our project. Now, I know I've used structures in a number of demos. Matter of fact, I used them in the scroll area and canvas gadget guys. And today we're going to focus in on really looking at what a structure is. And to create a structure, and this time we're going to do it right, and right from the beginning, you have the keyword structure. And then you have to have an end structure. All right, but a structure is expecting a name. And this is tantamount to like having a class name. A structure and a class in many languages pretty synonymous. There are some caveat differences, but we do have that this is pretty much aligned to what a class is. I refer to it as a class, and I'm sure most other people do. I'm sure there's arguments for and against, but I'm going to go with. And let's say we're going to go start off with person. All right, that's a good understanding. We're going to define this thing called a person. Now, a person will have a first name, right? And that's going to be a string. And then they're going to have a last name. Let's see, and that's going to be a string, and maybe they got a age, and that's going to be an integer. Now I have to say .i because There's no assumptions in structures. It is exactly what you enter. And he makes no assumptions. There's no defaults. There's no nothing. Now, you may have an address. Whoops. Address. Okay, and that's going to be a string and a city. That's going to be a string and then a postal code. Postal code, right? Oh, whoops. POST. I got ahead of myself. AL. Okay, so we have a postal code, which is going to be, I'm going to call them a string. Because in Texas, or in the US, you have 5 digits, dot 4 digits, or some such crap. Other places of the world have other things. So we're going to stay with strings here. And then let's see. Well, let's just say that defines a person. Okay. So what we've created basically here is a class. It has fields and attributes. These down here can be called fields. The person class has an attribute or a field of first name and last name and age. These are all in PureBasic we do a backslash, and then you get the actual fields here. So if I were to save this, well, first I'm going to jump out here and I'm going to put these where they belong. So we're going to open our project folder, and I am going to create a new folder, and this is going to be called structures. Okay, so we're going to come over here and let's say file, save as, and let's see. Oh my goodness, how did he do that? Okay, so we're going to say person.pbi. Now, this is a legal reference. Oh, how did I hit that? Sometimes I don't understand things. Okay, so we have person.pbi. Now, PBI is PureBasic interface, and that's exactly what this is. This is not an object. I'm going to add it to our project. We can come over here now and see our structure in person. And this is the classic example of this is a blueprint for how you would build a person. If you had a blueprint of a house, the blueprint isn't the house, but it's of a house. And then when we create a variable or we create the house, then you have a house. So let's go ahead and do that next. And we first have to come in here and say X include, and this is going to be structures, URBS, and we have person.pbi. Okay, so now we've included our structure. So we can say, let's build a house, let's build a person, and we're going to define, let's say George, right? And he's going to be of type person, right? Okay, so now we have George, and he's of type person, so we're all cool. I can come down here and say, George, and George has a first name, and we're going to set that equal to George. And George, okay, has a last name, and we'll set that equal to Washington. Okay, now we could fill out more, but it's the more of the same. But let's go ahead and throw in his age. So George has an age, um, let's see, that ought to be about 250 or so today. So George is getting pretty old. So now uh, we have now created a person called George, and he has these wonderful attributes that we've just now populated. So we can actually, let's see what our pointer looks like, huh? So if I said George, so by signifying a star asterisk George, that tells the world that this is going to be a pointer. Actually, I could just call it George. And so the @ sign is the reference. So this is um, George. There we go. All right. So we now have that. And if I debug our pointer, um, then we have, we'll see what that number is. And I can also debug, let's say, George, first name, whoops, first name plus a space, and we can say George last name. Okay, so we're going to debug all of that. And let's see, I should be able to hit play. And what didn't you like? We didn't define asterisk George. Good. That's a good answer. So let's come up here and we can say, let's define asterisk George. There we go. Oops, George. All right, now it should pretty much be happy. No, what did I do now? Debug George, right? First, I forgot the plus sign. My bad. Okay, so here we go. So no errors. Okay, so we get our pointer value. So when we pass a pointer, that's physically what's being passed is this great big monstrous number. And then if we put together first name and last name with a space in the middle, we get George Washington. Everything is exactly as we expect. So that is structures. Structures have a great place in coding. Sometimes we want to keep them just as structures. So we have this record type, a named set of attributes, if you will, and you can build lists of them. Let's come down here and say new list. And we can say people, and that is of type person. So now we have a list called people of type person, and so we can have lots and lots and lots of people, which is great. So that is a list or a structure. It's a class. It's a definition of a single record that you can put into lists, and you can actually do arrays of type person. You can do all kinds of stuff. You can, it's a way of keeping a whole bunch of data together as a single reference. Like in the previous videos when we were doing the scroll area, I wanted to keep together X, Y, and row and column. So we could then track the cursor, X and Y, and then calculate from those values what our row and column was. And then if you select a column, we have a column and row that is selected, we can then get the coordinates of where we need to paint that red hex on our screen. So it's a way of keeping together multiple pieces of data as a single entity and a single object. Okay, so very important. This is a base structure because the next piece of this is going to kind of blow your mind.